Good morning, it's July 3rd, day 16, and welcome back to the Twisting Roads. And it's about 10:30. I have a 11 o'clock Guru walk tour coming up, about 20 minutes away. And it starts at the Brandenburg Gate. I'm supposed to look out for a guy with a red umbrella. Start the tour, and the tour is going to include some of the things that we saw yesterday, the Berlin Wall, Checkpoint Charlie, but also the Brandenburg Gate, the Holocaust Memorial, and a few other things. Anyway, more later on. Well, I'm in Embassy Row here. You can see the French Embassy over here, just past the British Embassy over here. And I wonder where the Canadian Embassy is. So I'll have to keep an eye out for it. And here we have the Brandenburg Gate coming up. And this must be the American Embassy. Oh, we got a Quebec flag here. I wonder if that's the Canadian Embassy. Right next to the French one. It's rather strange you have a Quebec flag here. Well, I've arrived at the exact location that our guru guide said that we should meet. They actually sent an email to me about 45 minutes before we met and redirected us from our original place to next to Starbucks at the Brandenburg Gate. That's where we're going to start. But I just checked in with another tour group because I didn't want to miss out on the free tour. And my Guru walk tour guide is not here. So there's obviously a failure to communicate. So I just briefly left the group because I really had to go to the washroom, and when I came back out, they were gone. So there's another group here. I think I'll tag along with them. That's the beauty of a city like Berlin. I mean, there's so many tour groups, it doesn't really mean much, you know, particularly these ones that work on strictly on donations. But anyway, I'll have a walk around and hopefully I can catch up with these guys. Oh, by the way, the Brandenburg Gate, apparently the woman on top there is the goddess Irene on her quadriga. Well, I found him.
Right? So
this is Justin
cool.
from Kansas City.
As a reference to some of the.
I'm on the other side of the Brandenburg Gate, just leaving my tour group for a bit there, just to fill in on some information that I found very interesting. During the Weimar era, after World War II, Germany was relatively stable, but because of the war debts that accumulated as a result of the Treaty of Versailles, they ended up printing money like it was nobody's business. And that led, of course, to hyperinflation. There's many stories about how inflation took over the economy. One is such that if you went into a restaurant, and by the time the food had arrived, the menu prices would have changed. And it would have changed again by the time you finish your meal. So another story was that people were paid twice a day, once at lunch and once in the evening. And they were given wheelbarrows. Well, actually, they were given all this in cash, and they had to truck it in wheelbarrows. And one story goes is that someone asked for directions, and the guy stopped with his wheelbarrow, laid it down, and by the time he finished giving directions, he found out that the wheelbarrow was gone and the cash was left in its place. So the wheelbarrow was worth more than the cash itself. So Dustin was telling me that Frederick Great was gay. He never had children of his own. And he was a Prussian leader basically in the 18th century, and he was successful in overcoming insurmountable odds in a lot of battles. He was idolized by Hitler. Hitler referred to him quite often. And it's funny that the Nazis basically rounded up all the gay people and put them in self-protection, euphemistically, concentration camps. So it was rather interesting to see the ironic side of despots like Hitler. Right now we're just in the Jewish Memorial. So I'm in the Jewish Holocaust Memorial here in Berlin, and we just had a discussion about what should we interpret about these 2,711 obelisks. What do we feel? What should we interpret? And the answer is really left to the individual. Why one person feels one way and someone feels another. There's no right answer, of course, but personally, there's obviously a symmetry here. They're all lined up in a quadrant, but they have different heights. So what should we think about? How can that be interpreted? So we were just talking about our impressions of this memorial site, and one woman, an Israeli, said that her great-grandparents who were Jewish passed away in Ukraine, and she compared this as I'm going down this hill, as a sinking feeling that basically the world is enclosing on them, a sense of loss, being lost and not being able to find where you're going. Yeah, it does give you that feeling, actually, and it's pretty accurate. Another interesting story is that the coatings over here, it's chemically treated so that that people, can't spray paint graffiti, from neo-Nazi groups and the like. The company that manufactured is a branch of IG Farben and the Gusa. They were a chemical company that made Zyklon B, the pesticide that was used to gas the Jews in the concentration camps. Anyway, when the public found out that the Gusa was hired to treat the sides of these obelisks, it was a real uproar. And so they held a public hearing. And the Gusa didn't hide the fact that they were part of the problem when manufacturing Zyklon B, but they wanted to restore their name. They could have changed their name, the company, and come out differently, but they decided to own up to it. So it's rather impressive that the public managed to accept the fact that the Gusa are willing to treat these obelisks and be good corporate citizens. So we've stopped here in this parking lot where Dustin has basically been talking about East and West Berlin. Rather interesting that the Americans back in the 40s, after World War II, invested $13 billion to rebuild West Berlin and West Germany. And the Soviets actually took out about $13 billion out of East Germany and East Berlin. So it was obvious to a lot of Berliners and Germans which side of the fence they wanted to be on. Anyway, Dustin just asked, so what's the significance of this parking lot? Well, I just yelled out the Führer bunker. This is where it is. And so, yeah. Of course, the Führer bunker has been destroyed and demolished. But just around here is where they had access to the Führer bunker.
too far.
And so the German government has purposely left this area empty. They will not approve any form of building or anything. It's just a parking lot. They don't want to immortalize this area at all. So it will be left as is in perpetuity.
And why that wall went up in the first place.
So I'm not sure if you can see, but there are pockmarks along this wall over here. And these pockmarks are actually bullet holes made by the Soviets when they were fighting the battle for Berlin. And apparently this area was used for executions as well. At the time, the Soviets were executing all the prisoners that they had. They didn't take prisoners. That's what, under Stalin's orders, they basically executed them all. So the Nazis ended up rounding up a lot of old men and kids, and they told them, they said, look, we're going to be executed, so you might as well fight to the death. And that's what they did. A lot of them tried to flee to the west. And but it's quite startling to see all these holes that are in the wall.
Roosevelt died, but it was a good thing that Truman
Look up here.
because Roosevelt's position on Joseph
It goes all the way up. Hopefully they can make it out. One interesting fact about Berlin is the root word "berl" is Slavic for swamp. And apparently Berlin is built on a swamp. So much so that a lot of tall buildings actually don't have enough strength on this foundation, so they have to de-water. And they have a lot of well points throughout the city, and they channel the water, and their pipes actually going overhead over the streets, basically pumping out water so that buildings don't sink. I don't know how many well points they have, but there's probably thousands in the city. Well, this Israeli woman that I met on the tour actually asked me if I wanted to go to the Potsdam Conference Center, and we were in the midst of making plans to go over there, but then I did more research and I found out that it was closed on Monday, and it is Monday today. So we had to scrap the idea, and then I left her there. So her name was Zohar, and very nice lady. So I had to double back. I was in the Friedrichstrasse, the main station, and I had a terrible time trying to find a way to get back to Potsdamplatz, which is where I am right now. The trains are not well marked in terms of what track you should take to get to where. I mean, you can rely on Google Maps, but once you can find the train station, but inside, impossible. It's certainly not tourist friendly. And I've been asking around basically to get some help from directions, and there's been a lot of kind people here to basically tell me, okay, yeah, you're on the right track. So it was just guesswork on my part. And the main station, I mean, there's like, I don't know, 15 different tracks, and you could be on the right train but going in the opposite direction, so just amazing. Anyway, I'm just in front of the Canadian embassy here, so I'm just going to take a peek in and see what we do here. Hopefully they won't throw me out. So this is the front of the Canadian embassy. I don't see anybody inside over here. They have a metal screening detector here. And you're told to use the intercom. It's not very welcoming. Dear Lord. Well, and it's supposed to be open from 8:30 in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but there's no one here. Go Canada. So I'm standing in front of the memorial to gay and lesbian women. Apparently during National Socialism, about 50,000 of them were thrown in concentration camps. Not sure the exact number who died, but probably all of them. Anyway, there's a lot of monuments here in Berlin. There's one that basically is dedicated to gypsies. It's not too far from here. There's 500,000 of those. Sin Roma, I believe they call it. 500,000 of those people were persecuted and then thrown into concentration camps. Very few survived. So, as I just said there about memorial to the gypsies, it's actually the Sinti and Roma of Europe. 500,000 of them died. There's a memorial. I imagine there must be a flame coming out there. See? It's like a bird back there. So this is the Reichstag. Long history about it, but well, the Soviets actually fought their way through the Reichstag and raised the Soviet flag. Apparently the glass dome over there, it's supposed to represent transparency of government, so you can actually go in. Well, I'm calling it a day. It's about 12 kilometers of walking. My feet are actually starting to get a lot better. I don't feel as tired. So tomorrow we've got a tour of the Reichstag at 10:30. I bought my ticket, or actually it was free. And there's a couple of museums. I just looked outside of the Spy Museum. It looks kind of hokey, and that's why I won't go there. There's a Palace of Tears that I want to see, and basically that deals with people who died, I guess, trying to escape East Berlin. So, and I'm on another Guru Walk tour, but you know, it's about the Nazi history, and I think I've seen enough about the Nazi history. I wouldn't mind going down to Potsdam to see the conference center, and also I got to run here to get the bus, prevent me from being run over. Yeah, so Potsdam, the conference center where the big three basically met post-war, and see how Europe was going to be divided. And also Wannsee, which is just outside of the city, Wannsee Conference Center. And that's where really the Jewish question came up, and Reinhard Heydrich, who chaired the meeting, basically formulated his plan for the final solution. So those are two things I think I probably want to do, and not tomorrow, but the day after, which will be my last day. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the tour of Berlin with me today, and you'll keep watching. All right, the Twisting Road signing off.